This is Tony Felice, host of the Santaland podcast. First off, Santaland is not just a book, it's a frequency. It's a place in your mind where everything's cool and everybody loves each other and there's lots of adventures that go on. Fairy tales we know from the past, great literature, that sort of thing. And for season 1, we talked about my book and a little bit of the creative process, and this season is about you. And so my gift to you is I'm going to, do one of my little tricks and that I can do. And that's that I can read things I've never seen before and do the character voices and all. So join me each week as I read a chapter from classic literature, doing character voices and all live with the mistakes, dog interruptions, planes flying over, husbands that forget that the light is on the outside of the door. None of that matters because it's really about the real experience of just, kind of talking to you. Each week there's a sort of intro and a recap and a story arc, hopefully, that is something that is meaningful to you. If any of this sounds exciting, then join us every week on all your favorite podcast platforms. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much. Also, if you're an author and you have a book that you'd like me to read and maybe have you on the show, you can reach me on my website. Thank you for joining us on Santaland, modern fairy tales for adults that like to listen. Hello, and welcome back to the Santaland podcast. I'm Tony Felice, if you didn't know that by now. And if you skip the intro, then you missed the good part, which says what's going to happen here. And that's just me rambling for a few minutes about the subject matter of the day, and then reading Pinocchio in this case. I've never seen the copy before, and I'm going to try to do the voices. And part of the truth of this show is that I keep going, and I think it's kind of rad that I can do that, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. Because I'll be honest with you, it's taken a few days to come back. The world is unsettling at times for the best of us. It is heartbreaking, and it can feel helpless. And so I have come to realize that my job here is to help spread love. That's my job. To find things to be happy about and to find treasures in old things, to bring them back to life again. And to learn, perhaps, a lesson or two from the author or a story or two from me. So, welcome. I'm going to take a drink because that's part of the fun. We don't cut. And the dog is here. Obi-Wan Cannoli he's laying in his little house. And so he's going to be very quiet here. We're going to read, I believe, we're on chapter 6, I think. We're going to try to get through 6, 7, and 8, maybe, if I can, if I'm in voice. I might stop occasionally to cough really loud because who wants to hear that, honestly? But that's the only time I would ever stop. Scout's honor. Where we left Pinocchio, he's learning some lessons left and right. And the one true companion that he could have had with him, that cricket, which represents his conscience, or his morals, his little voice inside himself, intuition, if you will, that gut feeling. That's the cricket. That's the purpose of the cricket in this tale, is to maybe speak for the audience, but also to try to teach this kid something, so that he can become. Let's try that again, Tony. So that he can become a real boy. Identity plays such a role in life, because one has to believe in who they are before labels are applied to them by others. And aren't you the number one authority on you? And everybody else has a thought about that. And for my whole life, I wore those labels, and I was wrapped in maybe a wooden shell, if you will, because I was covered in those labels. And none of them, I come to realize, were any I would have chosen for myself. And so I'm fortunate. Well, maybe not so, because I'm 60 and I just figured it out. But not only have I let all that go, but I'm in the process of remembering it and everybody associated with it, because it doesn't have any purpose. Labels and projections serve no purpose except for the person, and they're just hurt. They're hurt like everybody else is hurt, unless they're the other kind, and that's the other kind that can't even be named. But we bring light here, and in light there is no darkness. So let's see if we can't have some empathy for this poor character. Chapter 6. And there's a little paragraph intro, and then it goes into the story. So here we go. Pinocchio falls asleep with his feet on the brazier and walks in the morning to find them burnt off. It was a wild and stormy winter's night. The thunder was tremendous, and the lightning so vivid that the sky seemed on fire. A bitter, blusterous wind whistled angrily, and raising clouds of dust swept over the country, causing the trees to creak and groan as it passed. Pinocchio had a great fear of thunder, but hunger was stronger than fear, and therefore closed the house door and made a rush for the village, which he reached in 100 bounds, with his tongue hanging out, and panting for breath, and panting like death, and panting for breath like a dog after a game. But he found it all dark and deserted. The shops were closed, the windows shut, and there was not so much as a dog in the street. It seemed the land of the dead. Pinocchio, urged by desperation and hunger, laid hold of the bell of the house and began to peal it with all his might, saying to himself, "That will bring somebody." And so it did. A little old man appeared at the window with a nightcap on his head and called out to him angrily, "What do you want at such an hour?" "Would you be kind enough to give me a little bread?" "Wait there. I'll be back directly." Try that again, Tony. Wait there. I'll be back directly," said the little old man, thinking he had to deal with one of those rascally boys who amuse themselves at night by ringing the house bells to rouse respectable people who are sleeping quietly. After half a minute, the window was again opened, and the voice of the same little old man shouted to Pinocchio, "Come underneath my window and hold out your cap." Pinocchio pulled off his cap, but just as he held it out, an enormous basin of water was poured down on him, watering him from head to foot as if he'd been a pot of dried geraniums. He returned home soaked, like a wet chicken, quite exhausted with fatigue and hunger, and having no longer strength to stand, he sat down and rested his damp and muddy feet on a brazier full of burning embers. And then he fell asleep. And whilst he slept, his feet, which were wooden, took fire, and little by little they burnt away and became cinders. Pinocchio continued to sleep and to snore as if his feet belonged to somebody else. At last, about daybreak, he awoke because someone was knocking at the door. "Who is there?" he asked, yawning and rubbing his eyes. "It is I," answered a voice, and the voice was Geppetto's voice. Gonna try to get Geppetto down. Okay. Chapter 7. Geppetto returns home, finds the puppet needs new feet, and gives him the breakfast that the poor man had brought for himself. Poor Pinocchio, whose eyes were still half shut from sleep, had not yet discovered that his feet were burnt off. The moment, therefore, that he heard his father's voice, he slipped off his stool to run to open the door. But after stumbling 2 or 3 times, he fell his whole length on the floor. And the noise he made in falling was as if a sack of wooden ladles had been thrown from a 5th story. "Open the door!" shouted Geppetto from the street. "Dear Papa, I cannot," answered the puppet, crying and rolling around on the ground. "Why cannot you?" "Because my feet have been eaten." And who has eaten your feet?" "The cat," said Pinocchio, seeing the cat, who was amusing herself by making some shavings dance with her forepaws. "Open the door, I tell you," repeated Geppetto. "If you don't, when I get into this house, you shall have the cat from... If you don't, when I get into the house, you shall have the cat from me." "I cannot stand up, believe me. Oh, poor me, poor me. I shall have to walk on my knees for the rest of my life." Geppetto, believing that all his lamentation was only another one of the puppet's tricks, thought of a means of putting an end to it, and climbing up the wall, he got in at the window. He was very angry, and at first did nothing but scold, but when he saw Pinocchio laying on the ground, and really without feet, he was quite overcome. He took him in his arms, and began to kiss and caress him, and to say a thousand endearing things to him. And as the big tears ran down his cheeks, he said, sobbing, "My little Pinocchio, how did you manage to burn your feet?" "I don't know, Papa, but believe me, it has been an infernal night that I shall remember for as long as I live. It thundered and lightning, and I was very hungry. And then the talking cricket said to me, 'It serves you right. You have been wicked, and you deserve it.' And I said to him, 'Take care, cricket.' And he said, 'You are a puppet, and you have a wooden head.' And I threw the handle of a hammer at him, and he died. But the fault was his, for I didn't wish to kill him. And the proof of it is that I put an earthenware saucer on a brazier of burning embers. But a chicken flew out and said, 'Adieu until we meet again, and many compliments to you all at home.' And I still got more hungry. For which reason this little old man in a nightcap, opening the window, said to me, 'Come underneath and hold out your hat,' and poured a basin of water on my head. Because asking for a little bread isn't a disgrace. It's a disgrace, isn't it? And I returned home at once, because I was very hungry. My feet on the brazier. I put my feet on the brazier to dry them. And then you returned. And I found that they were burnt off, and I am always hungry, but I have no longer have any feet." And poor Pinocchio began to cry, and to roar so loudly that he was heard 5 miles off. Geppetto, who from all this jumbled account had only understood one thing, which was that the puppet was dying of hunger, and he drew from his pocket 3 pears, and giving them to him said, "These 3 pears were intended for my breakfast, but I will give them to you willingly. Eat them. I hope they will do you good." "If you wish me to eat them, be kind enough to peel them for me." "Peel them?" asked Geppetto, astonished. "I should never have thought, my boy, that you were so dainty and fastidious. This is bad. In this world we should accustom ourselves... I gotta get this right. In this world... Geppetto, peel them!" said Geppetto, astonished. "I should never have thought, my boy, that you were so dainty and fastidious. That is bad. In this world we should accustom ourselves from childhood to like and eat everything, for there is no saying to what we may be brought. There are so many chances." "You are no doubt right," interrupted Pinocchio. "But I will never eat fruit that has never been peeled. I cannot bear rind." So that good Geppetto fetched a knife, and arming himself with patience, peeled the 3 pears, and put the rind on a corner of the table. Having eaten the first pear in 2 mouthfuls, Pinocchio was about to throw away the core, but Geppetto caught hold of his arm and said to him, "Don't throw it away. In this world, everything may be of use."
But core, I am determined I will not eat,"
shouted the puppet, turning upon him like a viper.
"Who knows? There are so many chances," repeated Geppetto, without losing his temper.
And so the 3 cores, instead of being thrown out of the window, were placed on the corner of the table together with the 3 rinds. Having eaten, or rather having devoured the 3 pears, Pinocchio yawned tremendously, and then said in a fretful tone,
"I'm as hungry as ever."
"But, my boy, I have nothing more to give you."
"Really? Nothing? Nothing?"
"I have only the rind and the cores of these 3 pears."
"One must have patience," said Pinocchio. "If there is nothing else, I will eat a rind."
And he began to chew it. At first he made a wry face, but then, one after another, he quickly disposed of the rinds, and after the rinds even the cores. And when he had eaten up everything, he clapped his hands on his sides in his satisfaction and said joyfully,
"Ah, now I feel comfortable."
"You see now," said Geppetto, "that I was right when I said to you that it did not do to accustom ourselves to be too particular or too dainty in our tastes. We can never know, my dear boy, what may happen to us. There are so many chances."
Chapter 8. Geppetto makes Pinocchio new feet and sells his own coat to buy him a spelling book. Sorry for the plane. No sooner had the puppet appeased his hunger than he began to cry and grumble because he wanted a new pair of feet. But Geppetto, to punish him for his naughtiness, allowed him to cry and to despair for half the day. He then said to him,
"Why should I make you new feet? To enable you, perhaps, to escape again from my home?"
"I promise you," said the puppet, sobbing, "that for the future I will be good."
"All boys," replied Geppetto, "when they are bent upon obtaining something, say the same thing."
"I promise you that I will go to school and that I will study and earn a good character."
"All boys, when they are bent on obtaining something, repeat the same story."
"But I am not like other boys. I am better than all of them, and I want to speak the truth. I promise you, Papa, that I will learn a trade, and that I will be the consolation and the staff of your old age."
Geppetto, although he put on a severe face, had his eyes full of tears, and his heart big with sorrow at seeing his poor Pinocchio in such a pitiable state. He did not say another word, but taking his tools and 2 small pieces of well-seasoned wood, he set to work with great diligence. In less than an hour the feet were finished, 2 little feet, swift, well-knit, and nervous. They might have been modeled by an artist of genius. Geppetto then said to the puppet, "Shut your eyes and go to sleep." And Pinocchio shut his eyes and pretended to be asleep. And whilst he pretended to sleep, Geppetto, with a little glue with which he had melted in an eggshell, fastened his feet in their place, and it was so well done that not even a trace could be seen of where they were joined. No sooner had the puppet discovered that he had feet than he jumped down from the table on which he was lying and began to spring and to cut 1,000 capers about the room as if he'd gone mad with the greatness of his delight.
"To reward you for what you have done for me."
"To reward you for what you have done for me," said Pinocchio to his father, "I will go to school at once."
"Good boy."
"But to go to school, I shall want some clothes."
Geppetto, who was poor, and who had not so much as a farthing in his pocket, then made him a dress of flowered paper, a pair of shoes from the bark of a tree, and a cap of the crumb of... I apologize, this is a old book, and some of the writing, some of the ink has run over, so... Okay, we're going to try this again. Geppetto, who was poor, and who had not so much as a farthing in his pocket, then made him a little dress of flowered paper, a pair of shoes from the bark of a tree, and a cap of the crumb of bread. Pinocchio ran immediately to look at himself in a crock of water, and he was so pleased with his appearance that he said, strutting about like a peacock,
I quite look like a gentleman.
Yes, indeed, answered Geppetto. For bear in mind that it is not fine clothes that make the gentleman, but rather clean clothes.
By the by,
added the puppet,
to go to school I am still in want. Indeed I am, without the best thing and the most important.
And what is it?
I have no spelling book.
You are right. But what shall we do to get one?
It's quite easy. We have only to go to the booksellers and buy it.
And the money?
I have none.
No more than I,
added the good old man very sadly. And Pinocchio, although he was a very merry boy, became sad also, because poverty, when it is real poverty, is understood by everybody, even by boys. Well, patience, exclaimed Geppetto, all at once rising to his feet, and then putting on his old fustian coat, all patched and darned, he ran out of the house. He returned shortly, holding in his hand a spelling book for Pinocchio, but the old coat was gone. The poor man, in his shirt sleeves, and out of doors, it was snowing.
And the coat, Papa?
I have sold it.
Why did you sell it?
Because I found it too hot.
Pinocchio understood the answer in an instant, and unable to restrain the impulse of his good heart, he sprang up, and throwing his arms round Geppetto's neck, he began kissing him again and again. Okay. Okay, I did pause to cough very loudly. Have a frog in my throat. How did I do? I don't know. Did I do okay? I'm sort of questioning myself now. I think I did a decent job. I think I was thrown in a couple of places because I couldn't read the copy. And also, it didn't make sense that Pinocchio would be speaking instead of Geppetto. So, I made that flub. But anyway, what have we learned from this? Well, the obvious, I think, would be that this entity, this child, has been born wanting, but has been born with a dark streak, and that begs the question of the reader of the subject between the lines, which is, do you know the difference between darkness and light? And are you born with it, or do you have to be taught it? Is Pinocchio teaching us a lesson about consume without restraint? And so much so that we, the smallest disappointment, the smallest challenge that comes our way, we could fall apart. And I'm guilty of it. We all are at times. And for good reason, sometimes. There's nothing wrong with falling apart. Falling apart is not a bad thing. It means falling apart means you have admitted that something is wrong, and your soul hurts like hell, and you don't know why, and you can't figure it out. So you have to have a breakdown. Literally, you have to stop. Get rid of the noise. Go out in nature. Stand, and we have this every day. Just stand with the sun on your face. I don't want you to get burned. But just stand there and look through and see the light through your eyelids. And feel that connection to this source of energy is just like amazing. It's right there in front of us every day. Get out and walk around, cool head, or go somewhere if you can, if you're lucky, like me. I get to go away and sit among the redwoods where I was for the last 10 days. Boy, it's so magical there. A cathedral of light that comes through the forest is so alive when you listen and sit and look. And there's a rhythm, And that rhythm is not the one that causes all the problems, the traffic jams and the flat tires and the bills or whatever. It's just noise. So I don't know why Pinocchio is the way he is. I'm more intrigued with that than all this other stuff that's coming up, you know. The author is digging deeper than that this kid is just naughty. It's that the naughty do it right out in public sometimes to see if they can get away with it. And they never can because of their own doing. And at the end, it's not that anyone, it's just a weird thing. It just doesn't, it unravels in a way that they never imagined. And that's just the way of nature. Nature just sheds things, you know? Every night we come out and the canopy will be covered with bits and pieces of this and that, detritus, bird fluff, or a little pine cone, or some, little pine needles, which on the redwoods are like so beautiful. They're just like flat and they smell good. And then, God only knows what else. And that's just overnight, and so I'd sit in my chair and I'd just listen to the water, and I'd look at the stuff going by. There's so much stuff going by you never see until the sunlight comes through. Then you're like, wow, pollen and little bits of fluff and little meaning, these little things that fly around that seemingly have no purpose on this planet at all, but to fly around and do nothing. They don't land on me. They don't land on anything else. They just fly around, And I like to think of them, this is fairy tales for adults, that they are fairies, Clap your hands if you believe in fairies. I believe there are things outside the light spectrum that human vision can't see. But I like to think there's fairies. Who cares about the scientific explanation? We could all sober up and get that one, right? Send it to legal. For those who don't live in the corporate world, that means send it to a place where you're going to get nothing but a bunch of no's and scary fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And nothing courageous was ever done with fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But they have a purpose, and that is to protect, and they do a great job of it. Somebody's got to say, are you sure? That pause is so important, And it's a gift to have somebody with balls. Oop, I might have to beep that out. Oh, there's already a beep. How weird is that? Do you or current? I have a text coming in. I put the phaser on stun. I don't know what's happening. Oh, it's a friend. It's a friend asking for a little help. And I'm going to reply really quickly because I like people to know right away. I got it. Yes, Peanut. I'm all yours in about 10 minutes. With a purple heart. Okay. What else do I want to say? Before the show, I was on the phone with my most senior staff person, and she's absolutely brilliant. And I'm so fortunate to be with people who, like, our Venn diagrams are like almost, it's almost a circle. There's just so much we have in common, and their hearts are just huge. And so, it's so great to be able to talk to someone who you trust so much. And this world is hard to find people that you can trust and believe. As much as it takes to believe in those little fairies sometimes, it takes to believe in people. So I'm so grateful I have the people I believe in. And hopefully Pinocchio will understand that, there is this connection between belief and identity. I think you all can make that in your minds. I don't have to spoon feed that to you. But there's something there. his feet got burnt off and he didn't feel it. So does that say that, people can be so desensitized to violent stuff that even when it happens to them, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this was happening until it happened. That does sound frighteningly familiar for me. I am the survivor of violent childhood trauma. And worse than that. I just outed myself, and I don't have to know. I don't know if I'm going to put this in or keep it in or not. It might harm the show. Maybe. What a moral dilemma one faces in times like these. I'm going to take a breath. I guess that's a nerve. That's why I wrote the book. I have to leave it in there. That's why I wrote the book. Jeez. Does anybody want to listen to a podcast like this? This is not about that. It's about, that's a part of the unremembering. See, in order to relate to people, sometimes you have to empathize, and that to do so, you have to think like them, and to do so, that means you have to feel like them, and that means that you have to really, really absorb the essence of their vibe and really figure out how you should handle it and what you should say. I thought everybody thought like that. Not everybody does. But back to the purpose of, we're talking about Pinocchio. Pinocchio, in spite of all of that, has this Geppetto. Maybe Geppetto is a metaphor for source, for creation, for the creator. Weary that we just don't get it. Keep doing it. Keep asking. Keep asking. Keep asking. There could be some religious overtone there, perhaps in the book, because there is an angel, and I'm spoiler alert, I guess. Well, we're at 30 minutes, and 8 means infinity, which means this could go on forever if I don't stop. I really appreciate you being with me. I hope what I did today was good. I really do. And the only thing I have to say about that is please do not think, I only want positive thoughts, that this is about art in the exploration of trauma and grief without naming those things specifically. We don't have to. Hold on. I gotta find something. Okay. This is in my journal. This is a thought train here. Who is the skeptic inside ourselves, and what purpose does it serve? I said because innocent love requires no contrast. But that's because I always default to love. And I've been criticized before about using the word love because it's taken in an abstract form, and love is not... It's almost impossible to describe love, because choosing one of its components to make a point about the whole is like selecting a petal to define the essence and totality of not just a flower, but the concept of life itself. These are thoughts I have. Who is the skeptic inside ourselves, and why isn't there one for Pinocchio? And why isn't there one for other people? And why is there for me or for you? Who is that skeptic? Not the skeptic, but the one of prudent thought. Who is that? How do we nurture that? And are we born with it, or do we find it? I want you to consider that, and maybe we'll pick up on that on the next episode. Take care. I love every one of you. Thank you. Sincerely.